SSILD or SSILD stands for Sensors Initiated Lucid Dream, and it was originally created by a guy on a Chinese blog called Cosmic Iron. A lot of people are using SSILD because of how easy but incredibly effective it is at the same time, and thankfully for me, it's probably the easiest technique I'll have to explain to anyone. Like, there's no improvisation, there's no extra steps that you have to kind of figure out what to do. It's just a step-by-step process, and a literal 5-year-old could do it, and an idiot could do it, and you're not an idiot, so you'll have no issues with it, trust me. The first thing you need to do for this technique to work is perform a wake back to bed. That's when you wake up 4 to 6 hours after sleeping, perform SSILD, and then fall back asleep. You need to do this because 4 to 6 hours after sleep is when you're having your longest and most vivid dreams, so it's the perfect opportunity to enter straight into a lucid dream. SSILD technique won't really work before bed, like when you initially go to bed, so you need to do a wake back to bed for it to work. But trust me, you don't have to use an alarm or stay awake for long. It's not gonna mess up your sleep at all. In fact, the creator of SSILD recommends you only stay awake for like 5 to 10 minutes to make the technique work. I'll have a full wake back to bed video in the description, but basically just drink a lot of water and you'll have to wake up to go to the bathroom and piss. Or you can just tell yourself to wake up at a certain time before you go to sleep, and your brain kind of has an internal clock, and it's pretty smart. Your brain's smarter than you know. So if you tell yourself to wake up at like 4 a.m. a lot of times before you go to sleep, you'll probably end up waking up at that time. And if you don't, just dislike this video or something, because then I was wrong, but I believe in you. After you've waken up 4 to 6 hours after sleep and you've been awake for a few minutes, just lay back down in your bed in the comfortable position you normally sleep in and get ready to do the technique. To do SSILs, you need to perform what's called a cycle. And it's very simple. It's just cycling through 3 of your senses, and it's the main component of what makes the technique work properly. Let me explain. The first sense you'll focus on is your sight. So lie down and close your eyes and just focus on the darkness behind your eyes. Don't try and see anything or force anything. Simply just focus on the darkness behind your eyelids. The next step in a cycle is to focus on your hearing. So just pay attention to what your ears can hear. And if you can't hear anything external like noises, maybe you'll hear some noise in your head or your heartbeat or something like that. But once again, don't strain to hear anything. Just focus on anything you can hear with your ears. The last step in a cycle is to focus on your sense of touch. So this will just be focusing on what your body can feel. Maybe you can feel your blanket or the temperature, or you'll feel some heaviness or tingling. But once again, don't strain your body at all. Just focus on what you can feel with your body. If you feel nothing, that's completely fine. And the stimulation of these 3 senses will kind of get your body and mind in a perfect state of awareness to give you a really good chance of having a lucid dream. So you'll focus on what you can see behind your eyes for a few seconds, what you can hear for a few seconds, and what your body can feel for a few seconds. And then once you do that, that's 1 cycle. And then you want to repeat that 4 to 6 times. So keep cycling through your senses 4 to 6 times. And when you're performing the cycles, it's important not to stress on how many seconds, like specifically, you're performing on each sense. Just kind of estimate and go with the flow. Don't stress about it at all. And after you perform these quick warm-up cycles, you want to perform the cycles again 3 to 4 times, but this time do each cycle slower, and spend around 30 seconds on each step. And hopefully when you get around to these slower cycles, you'll be a bit more relaxed. Maybe you'll start seeing some visuals when you're focusing on your sight or something like that. But if you don't, that's completely fine as well. Don't stress about it. So on these slower cycles, you're just doing what you did before, but instead of only spending a few seconds on each sense, you're going to spend around no less than 30 seconds. So for example, spend 30 seconds focusing on what you can see behind your eyelids, spend 30 seconds on what you can hear, then spend 30 seconds on what your body can feel. And you want to perform these slower cycles 3 to 4 times. And while you're doing these slower cycles, if you're getting distracted by your thoughts, don't try and like push them away. Kind of just let them take you into sleep if you're getting distracted by thoughts, because that's a good indicator that you're falling asleep. But if you also become too alert while you're performing these slower cycles and you quickly realize that you've gotten distracted or lost track of what you're doing, don't stress about that either. Just quickly start from the beginning of a new cycle and start a new cycle again and just keep going. And if after doing 3 to 4 cycles you didn't fall asleep, that's totally fine. Just lay down in a comfortable position and fall asleep quickly like you normally would. The quicker you can fall asleep at this stage, the better, and the higher chance you'll have a lucid dream if you can fall asleep quicker. So don't worry about if you did the technique properly or if it's gonna work. Just fall asleep as quick as you can. And hopefully from doing the cycles, you're pretty relaxed now, so that should be pretty easy. And the good thing about SSILD is that it can get you lucid in a few ways. The first way it can get you lucid is through a wild, awake-initiated lucid dream. And this is when you'll enter straight into a lucid dream from falling asleep while you're doing the cycles or right after doing the cycles. So you'll enter straight into a lucid dream from raised awareness, from focusing on your senses. The second way this can make you lucid is through a dialed, a dream-initiated lucid dream. And this is when you'll fall asleep after performing the cycles and become lucid while already in a dream. And this works because focusing on your senses gave you like raised awareness. So you'll be much more likely to notice something's off or just become lucid while already in a dream once you fall back asleep after doing the technique. Another thing that's common that you need to watch out for with this technique are false awakenings. This is when you wake up, but you're not actually awake. So you'll think you'll wake up, but you're still asleep. And these are very common when you're doing SSIL. So if you suddenly wake up after doing this technique and you think you're awake and the technique didn't work, make sure to do a reality check, like counting your fingers or holding your nose and seeing if you can breathe. Because if you think the technique didn't work, there's actually still a good chance you're in a lucid dream. And if you wake up the next morning with no lucid dreams, don't stress at all. Just do the technique again the next night and stay consistent. This technique's very simple and you'll just get better the more you do it. The steps are very concise and you will eventually get lucid if you stick with this technique. If you need any more help with this technique or have any feedback, just please leave a comment below. I'll read all the comments that you send. And if you need a free app for lucid dreaming or dream journaling or anything like that, there'll be one in the description, and our Discord will be in the description as well, so check that out and join us and talk about lucid dreaming.